This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, coming at you here today with a quick breakdown of why Osama bin Laden is trending in the news today, and I'll also answer the question as to why now? So in case you guys didn't know, way back in 2002, the Guardian newspaper released the Osama bin Laden's letter to America that he allegedly wrote just after the 9/11 attacks. Some TikTok users have recently discovered this letter, they've read it, and they now agree with some of the things that Osama bin Laden was allegedly saying, like that he hates the United States for their support of Israel, and that they should just leave the Palestinian people alone. So the Guardian newspaper ended up removing this letter, claiming that it's being taken out of context. But by simply engaging in this type of censorship, the Guardian newspaper is actually amplifying and perpetuating the lie that Osama bin Laden is responsible for the 9/11 attacks. When the reality is, 9/11 was the biggest false flag attack my generation has ever seen, and it was carried out by the CIA with the help of the Mossad. So this now begs the question, why is this all happening now? Well, first of all, this new TikTok ad is not only perpetuating the lie that Osama bin Laden carried out 9/11, but it's also actually conditioning the minds of the masses for another false flag attack that would be carried out by the CIA and blamed on Hamas operatives. I mean, just look at the actual day of 9/11. There were news pundits and war hawks who were already claiming that this was the work of Osama bin Laden before the towers had even collapsed. And that was a direct result of preconditioning that was designed to point the finger of blame at the wrong enemy. Because folks, bin Laden is a CIA asset who was used as a scapegoat to be blamed for these attacks. And you've probably heard that bin Laden was allegedly killed back in 2011 by some elite members of the Navy SEAL Team 6. But did you also know that just 93 days later, 17 members of that elite Navy SEAL Team 6 crew who was involved with this raid on the Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan, they ended up dying in a subsequent helicopter crash? I actually interviewed the father of one of these Navy SEAL Team 6 elite members who was allegedly involved in this Osama bin Laden raid in 2011 and then was killed in a helicopter crash along with 30 other Americans, 17 of whom were a part of this elite Navy SEAL Team 6 group. And as I said, 93 days later, they were all killed in a tragic helicopter crash. In this exclusive live stream from back in 2016, I spoke with the father of this Navy SEAL Team 6 member who was murdered 93 days after the bin Laden raid. And I also, in this live stream, spoke with James Corbett about the 9/11 papers at the time. That was a limited hangout designed to point the finger of blame at Saudi Arabia. So check out this clip of this interview that I did with Charles Strange, the father of Michael Strange, a Navy SEAL Team 6 member who was involved in the bin Laden raid and then killed 93 days later. All right, welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Press for Truth Live. I am your host, Dan Dix. Today is Tuesday, April the 19th, 2016, and we have a really great show lined up for you guys. So much has been going on all week in regards to 9/11 news. I'm sure by now you've probably already heard of these 28 pages of being redacted from the 9/11 investigative report, which is now implicating involvement by Saudi Arabia. And now we have Saudi Arabian government suggesting that if the Congress passes a law to make it eligible for them to be held responsible for 9/11, they're going to withhold their dollars, their American dollars, up to the tune of $800 billion. And this could essentially cause a crash. So this is a huge geopolitically. So today we're actually going to have James Corbett a little later in the program to help us just break this down, what this means, in terms of Saudi Arabia. So stay tuned. We're going to be breaking all this down with James Corbett a little later. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound. Now, this happened quite some time ago, and as I'm sure most of you probably are already aware, it was a Navy SEAL Team 6, a very elite unit who was involved with this raid. Now, what some of you may not know is that it was just about 94 days later when some of these very same Navy SEAL Team 6 members who were involved in the Osama bin Laden raid were killed in a helicopter crash and were subsequently silenced eventually in the largest loss of life for the American military ever since the war in Afghanistan began. 30 people dying in that helicopter crash, and again, some of them being members of Navy SEAL Team 6. And now, joining us on the line is Charlie and Marianne Strange. And first of all, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us here on Press for Truth Live. Sir, your son was involved in the most elite unit in the world, one of the most secretive operations, and was later killed after doing this in a subsequent helicopter crash. Now, in the 5 years that you've been researching this, what are some of the questions you still have, and what are some of the things you want the world to know about what happened to your son?
Thank you so much for having us on. It was 93 days after the bin Laden raid. Michael Strange is my son. He was my oldest son. It was the biggest loss of life in the Iraq and Afghan war. And it was the biggest loss of life in the history of America. 22 guys from DEV Group, which DEVGRU. DEV Group stands for Naval Special Warfare Development Group. And there's so many questions, Dan. It's, why use a Chinook helicopter from 1960 with our elite SEAL Team 6 members? With anybody, even the guys that, peel the potatoes. Nobody's son or daughter should be flying around in a Chinook helicopter, not in 2016, not when we're giving Afghan millions and millions of dollars.
Folks, they silenced those guys to keep the truth from being revealed. So why is this letter to America and this TikTok trend happening right now? You might once again be asking. Well, to reiterate, we are being conditioned for an attack, and when it does happen, they want you to immediately think that this was carried out by terrorists who hate America and Israel. But the truth is, my friends, criminal elements within the US and Israel are the real terrorists, and they will stop at nothing when it comes to taking over the Middle East, setting up their Great Reset and an eventual New World Order. Guys, I've done extensive research on this. I've made documentary films about it, one of which was my most viewed video on YouTube with over 2 million views before YouTube took it down. Well, I've recently uploaded that to Rumble, so if you haven't seen it, please take 2 hours out of your day today to learn the truth about what actually happened that day. My film presents nothing but the facts, and I dare anyone who watches this right now to go ahead and try to debunk anything that was said in that film. I say that confidently because I know that you can't. Guys, please check the links in the description below to where you can find that film, and also to where you can find me at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information. I can't do this work without you, so thank you so much to everyone who does contribute financially to my efforts to Press for Truth. So that's all for today, everyone. I just wanted to bring all of this to your attention. Once again, please click that thumbs up button, share this video with your friends and your family who you think might need to see it the most. And stay tuned, we're gonna have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.